Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Naples, Italy. I want to introduce you to one of my friends, Mount Vesuvius. Technically, he's not one of my friends. Actually, in this story, he's going to be the villain of the story. Come with me as we take a step back in time and see what the ancients went through when this guy decided to have a bad day. Look, the ancient city of Herculaneum, August 24th, 79 AD. Their lives are going to change forever. Mount Vesuvius erupted, and a wall of pyroclastic flow came down the mountain, 500 degrees and about 60 feet tall. It just covered the whole entire village. It literally froze people in time. I'm going to zoom in on the boat storage garages so you can see. People made their last stand here as they watched their fellow citizens be covered in the ash from the top of the mountain. This used to be a shoreline, and it's about 100 feet below me. They made their last stand waiting for boats to come or trying to escape. Obviously, they didn't. Now here's a broad view of the city from the third terrace out of the 5 terraces that made up Herculaneum. You can really see how Mount Vesuvius just looms over the entire city. Now the city of Herculaneum was spread out over 5 terraces, starting from the shoreline, going up to the side of the mountain. The city was comprised mainly of the rich and upper class, as a group broke off from Pompeii and created their own city. As you can tell, the city was well laid out, was well thought out, and well built. It comprised housing, city squares, places of worship, restaurants, and shops, all built to the highest quality. Now this is a side view of the city. On the left you can see the city. On the right you can actually see a giant wall of ash. That wall is about 160 foot of ash that covered the city. Now before that, it used to be a beach with water. I made a couple renderings just so you can see what it looked like. This is before and after. Before and after. What a difference. Alright folks, let's take a stroll down the city streets. We'll walk right into the city town center. Notice the roads. These roads have held up since 79 AD. Not a scratch on them after the volcano eruption. Nothing was destroyed. It's amazing, their technology and their engineering. Now this is a city center where these are apricot trees, and somehow after being covered, they still survived and they regrew. All right, friends, in the middle of Herculaneum, I have found you a McDonald's. I'm gonna turn it around. Now, I never said it was open. This used to be an ancient fast food restaurant. Basically, we're walking in the door, and these were all the pots that were set up to sell food. You imagine they had vegetables, some type of meat, rice, or maybe like some type of couscous. Probably for storage. And if you can see right here, it's right on the corner. You see the cobblestone roads? See where they intersect? Kind of like almost like a modern McDonald's. Always in a city plaza, popular part of the city, and someplace where the roads intersect. Pretty impressive, huh, folks? An ancient McDonald's. Now let's take a tour of a house that was preserved underneath all the ash, and it was actually dug out. Now this is not an ordinary house. This is a house owned by someone who had means. Think of maybe a mayor or a senator, someone who created legislation or policy. They actually held meetings in their house. They had a whole room carved out just for meetings. This person was rich and powerful. All right, if you can see, this is a bedroom And this is a carbonized bed, authentic, from 79 AD. And you can see the walls. This bedroom's probably 6 foot by 6 foot. You can see the plaster on the walls, how it's decorated. Now, whoever owned this was someone of means. This area over here, these are the original doors, wooden sliding doors. And this is the office area. They would conduct business with important people. They have meetings here. Who knows? Maybe came up with legislation. And when they wanted privacy, they just slid these doors shut. Now, the very interesting part about this house is the ceiling. I hope you can see it. But it's a convex ceiling with a hole. So basically the roof slopes in. That whole hole was open and the water poured down during rainstorms right into here, which is in the middle of the house cistern. It's always held fresh water. How impressive was that for 2,000 years ago? The technology and the planning that went into these homes, that would rival us today. All right, folks, let me show you another type of house now. The last house we were in was obviously someone very prominent, maybe like a equivalent to a mayor or a councilman. Now this house is going to be more like a businessman. Let me show you this. So you can see the differences. This area would be the kitchen. Stairs to go upstairs. And are you ready for this? This is the upstairs. Right up top is one bedroom and the second bedroom. And those were for slaves. This is how we know this is a prominent businessman. Again, not the level of the last house, but they did have slaves. So they were somewhat of importance. And just to give you an idea, this is the other part of the house. And look at the floors. These are the original mosaic floors. Folks, what we're looking at now is an ancient gazebo. All original, with an original table. Now, just to put this in perspective, I'm going to overlay what the back used to look like. And you can see exactly why this table was so special and their view. So here you go. There you go, folks. That right there used to be the sea, but now it's a wall of lava. Again, the sea, now a wall of lava. Such a shame. Now, while we were there, we also visited the ruins at Pompeii. Pompeii was a much bigger city. At its peak, it was home to about 20,000 people. This is the amphitheater set in the heart of the city. At its peak, it could seat about 5,000 people. Now, in the background, you can see some of the ruins. I found the ruins in Herculaneum to be a little more interesting. Introduce you to the famous mummies of Pompeii, which are actually not mummies at all. They're actually bodies that were buried underneath thousands of pounds of ash and through the heat and time disintegrated and left voids in the ash. Well, archaeologists found these voids and actually filled the voids with plaster, and that's actually what you're seeing today, are the plastered remains of what was left in the ash. Now, with this, death was not instantaneous. They were actually smothered and asphyxiated underneath the ash. This person, they're like praying, almost knew that it was coming. sad to see. Again, moments frozen in time from almost 2,000 years ago. Now, this body was said to be an ancient woman who was actually a slave. And you can see her last moments, she's trying to cover her face and find some way to breathe. Again, the ash that was falling was around 500 degrees. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the very top of Pompeii. This area is where all the government offices, marketplaces, and main points of trading were located. Now, in the background, you can see Mount Vesuvius. They say that when it exploded, it lost over half of its height and volume. So I thought it'd be interesting to do a quick comparison just to show you. I did a rendering of what it would look like after and before. So here's the after, obviously. Now here's the before. After and before. Now, based on that rendering, can you imagine the awesome sight of Vesuvius in the background every day? The Romans truly thought they were in command of the land around them. Well, Vesuvius had to show them who was more powerful in the end. And that's going to wrap it up, folks. Thank you for joining me at the ruins of Herculaneum. I'll see you at the next stop.